Larry Kudlow slams banks over alleged discrimination against Trump. A recent controversy has sparked heated discussions, and it involves one of the nation's most influential figures and a major financial institution. The story unfolds with a bold allegation from former President Trump, claiming discrimination by a leading bank. Larry Kudlow, a prominent host on Fox Business and a former advisor to President Trump, has weighed in on this matter. During a Fox appearance, Kudlow revealed an intriguing perspective. The banks will tell you they were forced by regulators due to the events of January 6th and the criminal charges in 2022. He added, the regulators threatened fines and even criminal proceedings against the banks. This statement came in response to Trump's claim that JPMorgan Chase refused to manage his finances after he left office in 2020. Kudlow further explained, reputational risks are a concern for banks, especially with the involvement of regulators and supervisors. He then referenced an executive order by Trump, suggesting it could address discrimination against conservatives. However, Kudlow acknowledged, the banks may have had no choice due to Biden's regulators, but it's still a terrible situation. This comment adds a layer of complexity to the narrative. During a CNBC interview, Trump defended his actions, including the firing of the Bureau of Labor Statistics head and the imposition of tariffs on foreign nations. He believes these measures will give America an edge in global trade. This story has sparked debates and raised questions about the role of regulators, the influence of politics on financial institutions, and the potential impact on the economy. It's a complex issue with no easy answers. What are your thoughts? Do you think there's truth to Trump's allegations, or is this a case of political posturing? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments below. Trump claims JPMorgan Chase and Bank of America rejected him as a customer. Imagine the audacity. The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has publicly accused two of the nation's most powerful financial institutions of rejecting him as a customer. This bombshell revelation has reignited a fiery debate about whether conservative clients are being unfairly denied banking services. But here's where it gets controversial. Trump's claims have sparked a heated discussion about political bias and regulatory overreach in the banking industry. Let's dive into the details and explore the implications of this high-stakes showdown. In a candid interview with CNBC's Squawk Box, Trump shared that JPMorgan Chase had given him a mere 20 days to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars in cash to another bank. He didn't specify when this alleged incident occurred, leaving many to wonder about the timeline and context. Trump went on to reveal that he then approached Bank of America, hoping to deposit over $1 billion, only to be told that the bank couldn't accommodate his request. Brian Moynihan, the CEO of Bank of America, flat out said, "We can't do it," Trump recounted. This forced Trump to seek out smaller banks, spreading his wealth across various institutions in increments of $10 million here and there. The news sent shockwaves through the financial world, with shares of both JPMorgan Chase and Bank of America dipping by more than 1% in afternoon trading. But this isn't just about Trump. It's about a growing concern among conservatives, crypto executives, and religious organizations who claim to have been unfairly debanked by major U.S. financial institutions. Banks, on the other hand, maintain that they don't reject customers based on political or religious beliefs. Instead, they point to federal laws aimed at preventing financial crimes, such as the 1970 Bank Secrecy Act, and the regulatory pressure they face regarding industries deemed high risk for money laundering or fraud. The issue resurfaced in January when Trump accused Brian Moynihan of denying services to conservative customers. This puts banks in a precarious position. They risk further antagonizing the former president and his supporters, who resonate with his grievances. At the same time, banks have been a trade group for big banks. The Bank Policy Institute has weighed in, suggesting that regulatory overreach is the root cause of the debanking problem. They hope that any forthcoming executive order will address the flawed regulatory framework that led to these concerns. Trump's comments on Tuesday focused on his business dealings, likely referring to his real estate and hospitality empire. However, it remains unclear whether the events he described involved personal or business accounts, or both. Trump believes that banks rejected him and his supporters due to pressure from regulators during the Biden administration. In a March lawsuit filed against Capital One, Trump's organization alleged that the bank improperly closed more than 300 accounts a few months after the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol. Capital One denied these accusations, stating that they do not close accounts based on political affiliations. JPMorgan too have denied targeting conservatives or Trump supporters for debanking. We don't close accounts for political reasons. And we agree with President Trump that regulatory change is desperately needed, a JPMorgan spokeswoman stated. Bank of America's CEO, Brian Moynihan, echoed a similar sentiment in a broadcast interview, acknowledging that the industry is beholden to a complex web of regulations. We bank everybody, but the reality is we want to make sure that the rules and regulations don't cause decisions we make that then are looked at in the aftermath and questioned, Moynihan said. So, what do you think? Is this a case of political bias, or are banks simply trying to navigate a labyrinth of regulations? Do you believe that Trump's claims have merit, or are they just another attempt to stir the pot? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. And this is the part most people miss. The real question is, who's really pulling the strings in this high-stakes game of financial politics? Trump's battle with big banks. Discrimination against conservatives. Imagine a scenario where one of the most influential figures in American politics claims that major financial institutions are systematically biased against his political allies and himself. This is precisely what President Trump has been alleging, turning a spotlight on what he perceives as unfair treatment by the banking sector. According to the Wall Street Journal, the White House is gearing up to release an executive order aimed at penalizing banks that allegedly discriminate based on political affiliations. This move comes after a series of complaints from conservative organizations and cryptocurrency firms who claim they have been denied services due to their political leanings. The proposed order would impose fines on banks found guilty of such practices. But here's where it gets controversial. Critics argue that this executive order could be seen as an attempt to exert political pressure on the banking industry, potentially undermining the independence of financial institutions. Proponents, however, believe it is a necessary step to ensure fair treatment for all, regardless of political beliefs. And this is the part most people miss. While the focus is often on high-profile individuals and groups, the impact of such policies could extend to everyday Americans, particularly those who may feel marginalized within the current financial system. For instance, small business owners who identify as conservative might find themselves facing hurdles when seeking loans or other financial services. What do you think? Is this executive order a justified response to alleged discrimination? Or does it cross the line into political interference? Share your thoughts in the comments below.